Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
The casket looked impossibly small, too small for the weight of a child's laughter, for the warmth of her hugs, for the 10 years of life my daughter had given me. As they lowered my little girl Demi into the earth, the ropes creaked and the thud of soil echoed like a cruel final drumbeat. My fingers shook uncontrollably. I pressed them against my black dress, but the trembling spread through my entire body. Beside me, my friend Helena slipped her hand into mine. Her grip was steady, though her voice cracked when she whispered, "She loved you more than anyone, Nadia. Never doubt that." I nodded, but tears blurred everything. The priest's words, the gray sky, the faces of distant relatives. My parents weren't among them. Neither was my brother Ashton. Even Melissa, my brother's girlfriend who used to call Demi her little niece, was absent. The ache of their absence cut deeper than the cold November air. Almost against my will, I pulled out my phone, needing distraction, needing anything. A wave of photographs lit up the screen. Ashton and Melissa at a ballroom draped in gold, champagne flutes raised high, smiles frozen in celebration. A caption beneath: "Engagement party of the year at Grand Horizon Hotel." At the very moment my daughter was being buried. My chest tightened. Helena glanced at the screen and inhaled sharply. They knew today was the funeral, she whispered, fury trembling under her words. They knew, I rasped, and still, my throat closed around the rest. The betrayal churned with my grief until I could barely breathe. I imagined my parents raising toasts, Ashton laughing with his arm around Melissa, while I stood alone beside a hole in the ground. When the last prayer was spoken, I stepped closer, laying a single lily on the polished wood. My voice broke as I whispered, "How I love you, my little girl, my sunshine. Forgive me for not being able to save you." I fell to my knees and tears to flow streamed from my eyes. My friend Helena and distant relatives lifted me to my feet and began to comfort me. "I'll protect what's left of you, Demi. I swear it," I whispered. Helena touched my shoulder. "You're not alone." But as I stared at the hollow space where my family should have stood, I felt exactly that, utterly abandoned. And beneath the sorrow, a flicker of something else stirred, suspicion. If they could skip her funeral for a party, what else were they capable of? I stood at the threshold of my parents' house, the same one where childhood birthdays had been celebrated and Christmas lights once sparkled. Now the walls seemed colder, the silence sharper. My hand tightened around the strap of my bag as my father opened the door. His eyes didn't carry grief, they carried calculation. Inside, Ashton lounged on the sofa. Melissa perched elegantly beside him, scrolling her phone. My mother, stiff and proper, gestured toward the dining table. "We need to talk, Nadia." I sat, though every muscle in me screamed to leave. Father cleared his throat. "It's about Demi's trust fund. Ashton's wedding is approaching and your grief, well, it's made you fragile. We think it best if you sign the control over to us. For the family." The words struck like ice. "For the family?" My voice cracked. That money was meant for Demi's future. Alistair set it aside for her. If she couldn't use it, it falls to me. Not to Ashton, not to his wedding. Ashton smirked, leaning forward. "Come on, Nadia. You can't even handle your own emotions right now. Do you really expect anyone to believe you can handle hundreds of thousands of dollars?" Tears burned my eyes, but not from weakness. Rage. "You skipped my daughter's funeral, for your engagement party, and now you want her money?" Melissa rolled her eyes. "Don't make this dramatic. It's just sitting there. You don't even need it." My chair scraped the floor as I stood shaking. "I needed to honor her memory, and I will never hand it over to you." For a moment, silence. Then my father's voice dropped to something colder. "If you won't do what's right, Nadia, then we'll have to make the court see you as unfit." The threat hung between us like smoke. My knees weakened, but I didn't collapse. I turned for the door, heart hammering. If they wanted a war, I would not stand alone. I hired attorney Charlie Porter. The next day, I was sitting in his office. Charlie Porter's office smelled faintly of leather and coffee, the kind of place where decisions reshaped lives. I clutched Demi's worn journal against my chest, as if her little doodles in the margins could protect me from what lay ahead. Charlie leaned forward, calm but firm. "They'll try to paint you as unstable, Nadia. Grief is their weapon. We'll need hard evidence to dismantle their story. His words unlocked a memory. The nights I spent at the hospital. Demi's small hand wrapped around mine, the nurses who saw me sleep in plastic chairs. My voice shook. I can prove I was there. I kept every record, every discharge note, even hotel receipts from when she had treatments out of town. Charlie nodded. Good. Collect them. And anyone who witnessed your care, friends, staff, neighbors, ask for statements. We need a chain of truth they can't break. Later that evening, I sat on my living room floor, surrounded by stacks of papers, photos, and Demi's medical charts. Helena stopped by, kneeling beside me. She brushed a tear from my cheek. Nadia, you don't have to do this alone. I do. I whispered, my throat aching. They want to erase me as her mother. I can't let that happen. Together, we sifted through memories turned into evidence. A nurse's note praising my vigilance, time-stamped photos of Demi smiling with me at the park, even social media posts where Ashton had casually admitted I was always glued to the hospital. Proof hidden in plain sight. But the most chilling discovery came from a folder Charlie retrieved later. Security footage of Ashton slipping onto my porch past midnight, testing the door handle. My stomach turned cold. They're not just trying to discredit you, Charlie said quietly. They're planning something bigger. I looked down at Demi's journal, tracing her crooked handwriting. My tears fell freely. Then will be bigger still, for her. The battle lines were drawn. The family filed an emergency guardianship petition. In a week, the courtroom smelled of polished wood and old paper. But to me, it was the scent of judgment. My heart hammered so loudly I wondered if the judge could hear it. Across the aisle sat my parents, Ashton and Melissa, faces I once loved, now sharpened into masks of hostility. The petition claimed I was too unstable from grief to manage Demi's trust fund. My father sat rigid, eyes forward, while Ashton leaned back smugly, as though victory was already his. Charlie rose first. His voice cut through the silence. Your Honor, the opposing side would have you believe my client is unfit. But grief does not erase a mother's devotion, it proves it. He began presenting documents, hospital sign-in sheets, nurses' statements, even photographs of Demi and me during treatments. The judge flipped through the files, brow furrowing. Then Ashton took the stand. His tone was smooth, rehearsed. My sister, she's not the same. She can't handle money. Demi's trust fund deserves better stewardship. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. Charlie's rebuttal came swift. And yet here are Mr. Ashton's own social media posts, showing his presence at a hotel ballroom during the exact hours of his niece's funeral. He laid down printed screenshots. A gasp rippled through the courtroom. Ashton paled. Melissa whispered furiously to him, but her eyes betrayed panic. Finally, Charlie produced the security footage, grainy but unmistakable. Ashton testing my door late at night. Is this the behavior of a concerned brother? Or of a man intent on undermining his grieving sister for financial gain? Silence weighed heavy. My tears blurred the edges of the room, but they were no longer tears of helplessness. They were release. The judge's gavel struck. Petition denied. Control of the trust remains with Ms. Nadia. Restraining orders will be issued. Relief crashed over me, shaking me more violently than despair ever had. I had protected Demi's legacy. But as I met Ashton's burning glare, I knew this war was not over. A year later, autumn leaves rustled across the cemetery as I walked the familiar path. The air was cool, but my heart carried warmth I hadn't felt in so long. I knelt beside Demi's stone, tracing her name with my fingertips. Fresh lilies lay at its base, the same kind I had placed the day I vowed to protect her memory. Hi, my love, I whispered, voice trembling. We did it. No one can take your gift away. And now he helps others too, just as you would want him to. Through tears, I thought of the families who had already received aid from Demi's memorial fund. Mothers who could pay hospital bills, fathers who could take time off work to sit at their child's bedside. Out of my pain, something living had grown. Helena joined me, gently resting a hand on my shoulder. She'd be proud, Nadia, she still is. I smiled through the tears, letting the grief wash into something softer, love. Standing, I looked to the sky where sunlight broke through gray clouds, and for the first time I felt Demi not as absence, but as presence. Her legacy was safe, and so was I.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.